I am so excited because the Step Out TV shows are back live on T2I TV. And for those who don't know, Step Out is a series of interviews and motivational segments designed to bring the best out of you and your business. Therefore, we have the following TV programs. Our first TV program, which is our flagship program, dubbed Step Out with Oscar Bimpong, is designed to interview consultants, experts, talented people, and those doing exceptionally well in their communities. The second one is Step Out SME Focus. This is where we interview business owners and showcase their products and services. The third one is Step Out Youth Impact Zone. This is where we interview young people succeeding against all odds to serve as an inspiration to other young people. And the last one is Step Out Authors Corner. And this is where we interview authors to share what their book is about to the world. Join us every week. Like T2I TV on Facebook and subscribe to the YouTube channel. To advertise or for further information, do WhatsApp +44 759 1152 983 or +233 55 580 3924 or email info@traintoinspire.com. T2I TV, we engage, educate, enlighten, and empower.
Welcome to another exciting edition of the Step Out with Oscar Bimpong, and tonight is another opportunity for us to discuss topics that is really on the continent of Africa, topics designed to shape your vision, topics designed to empower you, and topics designed to cause you to believe again. And tonight is no exception. My guest is already seated. He's a very, very knowledgeable man who is doing exploits on the continent of Africa from Ghana. And it's going to be an amazing discussion. If you are watching us, this is what I want you to do. Share this for somebody to have an opportunity to watch this interview. Also, if you are new to us, like our page T2I TV UK and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Now, before I go on to my guest, I would like to have some few mention of our sponsors. This program is sponsored by Train to Inspire Consultancy. That is your business training and consulting firm. Train to Inspire, when it comes to business training, talk to them. Also, when it comes to consulting, that is taking your business to the next level in the marketplace, speak to them. They work with different consultants across the globe. It doesn't matter which kind of area that you need consulting, they should be able to provide consultancy for you. They also work with schools, colleges, and universities in terms of the personal development of students. Then also ZPay Ghana Limited, your remittance and mobile money company based in Ghana. ZPay just launched their USSD code for mobile money, and that is *270#. Just dial it on your phone and register for ZPay mobile money. If you want to contact any of our sponsors, their contact details are scrolling on the screen. Take them and contact them. Also, if you want to sponsor any of our shows, you are more than happy to do so. We are here to really build this platform to be the next CNN of Africa. I've always said this, that we don't need to wait on a long queue to go on CNN. We can create our own CNN. And how do we create it? We create it by supporting our own. Because if we don't support our own, then we don't expect anybody from the outside to support us. This is a culture that we need to build on the continent of Africa, where we support visions that are supposed to help the continent and those of us in the diaspora. Tonight is going to be an amazing discussion. Now, who do I have on the hot seat? I've been following this man for some time on social media. social media is now the new form of building relationship. And trust me, I've really formed formidable relationships on the continent of Africa and in the diaspora. I've been doing this the last decade, and trust me, I can tell you that the last count I did, I have interviewed over 500 people, and that is a lot. That is a lot in terms of over a decade of experience in this. But tonight, it's not about me, it's about my guest. And my guest is somebody who is in the educational field. You can see him to be very young, but the man is full of brains when it comes to education. And who is my guest? My guest is an education enthusiast. He's the founder of AB Review and a board member of Scholastic Trust based in Singapore. He is the person of Abel Acquaye. Please welcome to Step Out with Oscar Bimpon, and you are live on T2I TV UK.
Thank you, Oscar Bimpon, for having me, and good evening to your guests, or good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are.
Depending on where you are. Wow, how has your day been, sir?
Pretty hectic, pretty hectic. Yeah, we've been planning for a STEAM camp for the summer break, so we've been working around the clock to make it successful. You know, STEAM is the future, right? Yeah, exactly. So we're making it work.
Wow.
But I'm happy to be here. I'm sure we're going to have a very interesting conversation.
Yes. We have had this discussion for a long time, and today is the day that we've been able to really make it up. Yes. Now, let me go straight to business. But I ask everybody this question. Who is Abel Acquaye in your own words?
Okay. You should have prepped me with that. Abel is a simple guy who just has a passion for education, believes that education is the #1 leveler, and believes that if Ghana, Africa is supposed to be where they are, we should take education more serious. So my quest really is to, through AB Review, create global opportunities for students from Ghana and from Africa. So Abel is really like an education passion guy, but very simple guy, down to earth, a bit fastidious. You know, I want things done a certain way, but I like kids. I like to be around the youth all the time. They inspire me when I hear their stories and their dreams, and I feel I can contribute something, just something little to making their dreams, you know, come into fruition. If I could, then I would. And I think that's really the ethos of me and why I exist, basically. Yeah.
Wow. There is a saying that if you are not part of the solution, then obviously you are part of the problem. So you are trying to add your quota to solving the pandemic problems that we are having on the continent.
I don't know whether it's pandemic, but well, yes, because education is, I mean, everywhere education is the leveler, and for any society to develop, education is the fundamental. Once we don't get it right, it would lead us to nowhere really. So I think everybody should take education very seriously, no matter the level.
But when was the lightning bulb moment where you realized that education is the path you want to take, and why are you so passionate about education?
Well, I don't know, but for me, from a very young age, I was the kid who was, you know, the inquisitive type. So I always ask questions in class, wanted to know why, the reason behind everything, really. And I didn't understand why things were easier elsewhere, you know. So I was always asking those questions. Why can't we have this? Why can't we have that? What is the issue? What's the problem? And I found out maybe junior high, getting to senior high, that if we were able to position ourselves well in the education space, we'll be able to develop next generation thinkers, inventors, and things may change. So I think at senior high, I got that mindset, and I began to think of ways that I could really contribute my quota in the education space. So my friends will tell you, my colleagues will tell you that Abel is the one person who would the first thing I'll ask my juniors when they came back from holidays was, what was your position in class? I wanted to see your report. How well have you done? And this was me 15 and 16. So that has always been my mindset. I feel that we can improve on ourselves and we can leave, the next generation can benefit from the sacrifices we do once we position our minds to do the right things. So I had a very unusual, childhood, asking questions and focusing on things that maybe the older people would have focused on, like grades and how well they were doing, getting kids into my colleagues into competitions and quizzes and stuff like that. So the light bulb moment came rather quickly for me at the high school level.
But we live in a society where if we're a child and you ask too many questions, they always shut you down. How were you maneuver?
So I learned diplomacy.
I think you should be checking your head is always.
All right. I learned diplomacy at a very young age. So I really know how to go around, to get to my point. But I think my parents were very liberal in that approach. So I would watch news in the evening with my dad and be asking all the questions. And then I'll be with my mom and sisters later to find out what's happening in the world of fashion and all that. So I got the best of both worlds. And my brother was very supportive, my big brother. He always liked the fact I was asking questions, and he was very open to, give me solutions, or, he was always supportive. So I think at a very young age, I was privileged to get a supportive family system. That really, inured to this passion that I have. So I was lucky, unlike a lot of my colleagues and a lot of Ghanaian children who would not have that opportunity really to voice out their opinions and will have everything in their heads. I was lucky.
I would say you were not brought up in a typical Ghanaian home.
Yes, it was quite atypical.
Yeah. Now let's delve into our topic, and our topic is education in the 21st century. And in terms of, so Ghana is going to be our case study, and I think what is happening in Ghana transcends to other African countries, right? But my question is, how are you going to rate the educational system of Ghana compared to the rest of the world?
Okay, I'm going to answer this two ways because it's a tricky question. The first is, how am I going to rate Ghana's education system vis-a-vis that of other African countries? When we do that, we're doing quite well, right? We're doing quite well vis-a-vis other education countries. But that is a very low yardstick, very, very low yardstick. Because if we're to compare to the rest of the world, I think there's a lot of room for improvement. I think it's something that we'll all acknowledge, because Europe, America, especially the Asia continent, they are, thriving, and sort of creating policies, implementing policies, executing them to make sure that they bridge the gap. We are, making some inroads, but I feel that the space can be increased. I feel we can do so much better. So that is how I'll answer this question. With African countries, not so bad. Against the rest of the world, there's a lot of improvements that we need to do.
I always say that if you compare yourself to somebody who is already down, then you have already.
And that's interesting, because I feel that especially a lot of our politicians, when they go to the other African countries and they see how bad they may be, they feel that, hey, you know what, you guys should stop complaining. It's not that bad. But these are the same people who go outside, right, into the Europe and to the best of, and they see how good it can be. So I feel we should be really comparing ourselves with those who are doing it, those who have made it, and so that we can be able to sort of move at a faster rate.
Yeah, yes. But how do you see our pace? Do you think we can catch up? Because I believe that if you compare ourselves to Europe, to the Americas, to the Australia, and all those kind of, for me, we are far behind. Do you think we are working to catch up?
I think I'm positive in that sense. I'm positive in that sense. I think we can catch up. Of course, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. But I'm going to give you maybe some examples that will maybe shape your mind into coming to my sort of thinking in believing that we can actually catch up. So I don't know, anytime you go anywhere in any country and you go into those universities and the schools, you realize that students from Ghana do well. You know, when they go, and I'm sure you in the UK, you have evidence of that. You come from a system like ours, you go into the UK, into the US, elsewhere, and they flourish. So it means that some things are being done right. The problem is it's not holistic enough. So it's only a few people who are getting these advantages. But once we have a holistic approach right from early childhood through to university, I feel that Ghana can be one of the top destinations when it comes to developing, you know, thinkers, new generation thinkers, academicians, and inventors, because we have the brains. We have the brains. Go into every university, every top university, whether it's Oxford, whether it's Harvard, where go and ask of the African countries, the students who are doing well, and they will tell you Ghanaians are among the top. There's something good here. The problem is we haven't been able to get the full scope of that advantage that we may have. But once policies are in place and we're able to execute them holistically, I feel that we can catch up. We can, if we have, let's say, a 50-year plan, I think we can actually catch up with other countries. Look, for instance, Vietnam. Some decades back, during the PISA test, they were ranking among the last 3, but they had, you know, a plan, and now they are ranking among the top 5 schools, countries when it comes to STEM. It's a plan, and they executed it. And I feel that for a country like Ghana, and I'm sure we're going to talk about the plans and how to execute them. Once we have this holistic approach, we can actually do very well. So I am an eternal optimist when it comes to education and how well we can succeed in it.
Do we have the plan, or we are thinking of having a plan?
We actually have the best plans. On paper, Oscar, I tell you this, on paper, I don't know whether you are privy to some of the policies, you know, that have been developed. On paper, top-notch, written by experts, and they are really good. The problem, as we've seen over the years, is the execution. And I mean, of course, there are so many reasons why we may not be getting, you know, the results that we're looking for. But among them, one is, of course, funding. When we plan, we don't plan long term. We are always planning for the short term. And that's because most of the time we don't have the funds and we are looking at donors to support us. So World Bank will come in and say, okay, I have X amount of money. I can, you know, support you for 5 years. What happens after 5 years? Then it goes down the drain. We're not able to execute the project or the policy, and then there are issues, right? So we do have the plan. In fact, on paper, excellent. I won't change anything, and especially with this new minister, the new minister of education, you can see that every angle is being touched on. It's not just one bit of it, right? But what I fear is that because we haven't probably thought through the sustainability angle so well in terms of funding of these policies, we may come to a point where some of them will not go the full mile, and then we will have all these troubles, some of which we are seeing currently in the education space.
Wow. And why do you find it so difficult to really execute plans? And because I believe you talked about funding, that is looking for donor countries to fund and all that. Can't we have a system in place where we can be funding our own educational policies?
That would be ideal, isn't it? But we are not in the ideal world. We don't have, I mean, to be frank, we don't have the funds. We don't have the money because our economy is not large enough, right? But if we need to meet targets that would help us be at par with the developed countries, we need to make some sacrifices. And so I'm going to give you a typical example. One of these sacrifices that was made by this government is to, get a lot more people into the education stream, and they implemented that through SHS. So it's a sacrifice because a lot of money is going to that project, money that could have been used for something else, right? Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know where you're coming from, but I think unfortunately, we are not seeing the full scope of the plan. So it was implemented, some would say wishy-washy, and but that's fine because like any major project, you wouldn't get all the answers before you start. You have to start once you have some of the answers. So they started. But I think the learning and unlearning process in the implementation and execution of the projects is becoming a bit of an issue. We are not tweaking as quick. We're not adapting as quick enough as we should. And that is what is, I think, causing the hysteria in the system, and people are not very confident in the system. But on paper, it's actually a very good system, which I feel that once it's really looked at, stakeholders come on board, it can really work for us. Because we need, one ratio that is very prominent for developed countries is the ratio of, those who have finished tertiary level to the population. Research shows that if you have anywhere between 20-25%, that's a good number, right? So you look at all the people who are at tertiary level, maybe 23 and above. You look at all the number and you look at those who went to tertiary school. So for developed countries, 25, 30, some go as way to 90, when you go to the likes of Singapore and other countries. Ghana, we the last I checked, we are about 13. So a lot of us are not getting into we're not developing the how do you call it? The mass, the critical mass of workforce. We are not developing them. So the free SHS approach was a good one. The problem that we are facing here is, and I would have said that, why didn't we start free SHS with maybe free vocational and training school? Because those are people who eventually will have the skill set. Once they are done, they can employ 1, 2, 3 people, and there will be a snowball effect in developing the economy, But we started off with just the normal free SHS, which is also not bad, forgetting in some instances the skill-based, learning approach with the TVET and the CODVET. The other thing I want to mention is, another question we ask ourselves is, there's nowhere in the world that we fund SHS and we fund boarding, fees. Feeding. Ghana is probably the only country. My research will probably, I may be wrong. I stand corrected. So I was thinking that, okay, all right, now we know that we don't have enough money. That's clear. So it's fine. Maybe we thought we could get some money from somewhere. It's not showing up. We thought we could use the petroleum funds. It's not enough, right? So why don't we take off that element? And yes, we agree that some of the best schools are boarding schools. So why don't we say this, that those who are going to the government schools, like the public schools, which we all say are not now at the best level, junior high schools, why don't we give them that visa to get boarding, so scholarships to all those who go to public schools to sort of benefit from the boarding, because ideally they wouldn't be able to afford, right? And those who can afford, like some parents who've taken their student to a Morning Star or to one of these top, primary JHS who can afford, they would at least complement the boarding element and the feeding element. It's still free SHS. I think everybody wants the free SHS tag to stay. And it's still free SHS. It's only that now you are giving the free SHS to everybody, and you are including the boarding elements to those who cannot afford. But then you are getting some, retribution, because people who can afford are helping at least in the feeding, right? Or boarding facilities, whatever it is. Then the funding element will not be of an issue here. But people, we are not thinking along those lines, because I know politically it's a very difficult thing to do, because I'm thinking that if any government comes and says that, hey, we are taking some elements off it, will be like, hey, you couldn't do it, right? But we have to take those bold decisions if we are looking at the future. Because at this page, if we continue along those tangents, I think these challenges that we are wrought with may continue, and it wouldn't augur well to, a lot of the kind of generation that we want to create in the future. It won't augur well for them. So it's important that we take these steps. And I can give you so many examples that other jurisdictions, they followed and executed. And because of that, they are thriving. I think there are some challenges that we shouldn't face. Or if we face, we should be able to be agile enough and tweak so that we can be able to succeed in that space. So I'm sure you may have I mentioned one or two things that hit a nerve, and you may have some questions on that.
Yeah, exactly. But I think I'm also of the free SHS. I believe that every child should have the opportunity.
Fantastic. It's a fantastic policy.
Of course. I know a lot of brilliant students that didn't have the opportunity to go to school just because their parents couldn't pay school fees. And I don't think it should happen to any child. But this is where my problem is, right? Now, if I could remember, the last time I did a research on this, when the free SHS came to Form 1, right? Those in Form 2 and Form 3, right? Their population together, the free SHS that was in Form 1, their population was more than the 2 batches ahead of them. Right? Meaning that
something close to,
yes, something like that last time I did a research, actually I was on an interview in Ghana and I did a research on that. And trust me, meaning that the first batch of the free SHS are more than those that are already ahead of them, that was 2 years ahead of them. Now my question is that this is a good policy. Now what happens if these people now graduate and they come home? At the far end of the policy, have we really put down structures that is going to accommodate these young people in terms of employment, in terms of integrating them into the market? Because now we have seen that the numbers have doubled. And if the numbers have doubled, how do we integrate them? Have we even put structures? Because now let's even look at every year the number of students that churn out from our universities. Have we put structures for jobs? What is your take on that based on unemployment?
Well, that's another interesting one. The truth of the matter is, and I mean, in an ideal situation, you'd want to work out all these elements, right? But we are not in an ideal world. So some of these approaches, you'd have to take it, as I said earlier on, with the little information that you have to work it, right? And later redress the problem, readdress it, and work it through. I said that I was of the view, or still of the view, that the free SHS should have started with free vocational and vocational and technical training. And I'm saying that because for that, a large percentage of them are learning practical skills, practical skill sets that they can utilize even themselves. So what was going to happen was that these people, if they had received free vocational training school initially, what it would have meant is that we wouldn't have the problem of how are we going to employ them. Because if you've gone to a vocational school and learned home economics or catering, or you can set up your own small restaurant, right? Or even do now online deliveries, like a big thing. You can just cook from home and so you'll be employed. That wouldn't be an issue. Then later we can look at those in the other area. But I think what this government is trying to do to sort of bridge that gap is focusing or putting priority on STEM or STEM subjects, because STEM is the future, right? There is so much vacancy when we're looking for programmers, computer science, developers, AI, mechatronics, robotics. Those areas are the future. So the thinking is that if we put a large chunk of our candidates or students in that space, eventually they would open up into opportunities. Of course, that is not 100% guaranteed, but that's the situation now. Because you know what's sad? Our polytechnics, which are now technical universities, are actually having people doing arts and social sciences more than the technical programs. It's really sad. They who were supposed to be training the technical people, the people who would be working on machines, they are actually, the ratio, the last I checked, I think it was 6:4. So 6 for every 10 people, 6 of them are doing either a social science, and not to denigrate any of these subjects in any way, but that wasn't the mantra of these technical universities. Your job was to create skill set. There was a certain skill set that we needed you to create. Think auto mechanics, electrical engineering, things that were handy. And the job market for those are quite high compared to the normal general arts and business programs. But that's not the case. So you can see a policy that was created some years back and see where we are now at that policy. The problem is with execution. And we are not able to come back and skew and say, okay, all right, we are missing the mark. Let's do this to get back to where we are coming from. It becomes normal. Now it's normal for a technical university to have more social science candidates than STEM candidates. So back to your question, what really needs to be done to bridge that gap from high school through to university to the world of work? How are we training our young ones? Which skill sets are we giving them? Which preparation guide? What are we doing, to get them ready for the future of work, not just for work, because the future of work is changing. It's different. A lot of the works that we see today in the next 10, 15, 20 years will be no more. Now, see, you are in your room and you're having an interview, a full-fledged interview with me. Who would have thought about this 20 years ago?
No, 2-3 years ago.
You couldn't think about it. So the world is changing. You're going to very soon take the jobs of Richard Quest of CNN and all these other guys. Amen. Right? It's no more brick and mortar. Of course, they have their place. But the world is changing. We are going to a whole new world, whole new world of technology, whole new world of thinking, artificial thinking. People are now thinking of going to space and even having holidays there. That is how we have to start developing the mindsets of the young ones if we really want to catch up, because that's where the future is going. That's where the future is going. So I believe that a lot of work, of course, needs to be done in that space. But with the focus on STEAM or STEM that the ministry is doing, I think that we will probably do some catching up. We even had problems with the vacancies at the universities. We didn't have enough universities to take up all these candidates who were coming. But now, of course, when these things happen, you have to be creative. So I feel that the gap is being met some way, somehow. So yes, the problems in education are infinitesimal. We can go on and on, but the bottom line is you need to have your strategy in place. You need to have your education metrics in place. Your KPIs map, standardized. You always have to go back to it and find out, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? What can we work? What can we work at? And I feel that if we are able to keep going back and trying to sort of fine tune these policies, like I mentioned with the free SHS, we can always do better. Let me make one point. So in 2018, there was there's an early grade reading assessment that we do. In 2018, the results came 2% of grade 2 students, only 2% could read. Only 2% of grade 2 students could read at that level, right? At the level that somebody else in the US and China elsewhere could read. I mean, elsewhere, this would have been a crisis. 2%, you know? So the gap really starts right from early childhood through to, primary, through to secondary. There's a serious gap. And so I do like the approach of this minister and this government when they say they are going to create a national assessment right from grade 4 and another one in grade 6. Because at an early stage, you know what the problem is, and you try to put in interventions that will break the gap. Because if you wait till when you're in JSS 3, they're far gone. There's nothing you can do. To be hard for you to retrain their mindset. And you are very big on mindset, aren't you? So I like that policy. But is it enough? I'm sure there's a lot more that we can do so that from end to end, once a student comes in from early childhood through primary, through JSS, to the university and to the world of work, he's gotten the right skill set and he'll be ready to match up with any candidate from, whether it's from the US, whether it's from Japan, whether it's from China. They can really match up because they've gotten the right skills and training that needs to be done. So that is how I feel the approach we have to take if we want to really bridge the gap.
Wow. I think you are making some great points there. But the point is that you mentioned about mindset and the mindset of our young people. Do you think they are right for them to really take? Because you see, these days I was telling somebody that if a job advert is being placed in Ghana, it's not only Ghanaians that apply. Yep. I've got a lot of friends that have moved from the US, from the UK, from Germany to Ghana. They were sitting in their homes. They got the jobs via Zoom. The next moment they fly down to Ghana and they have a job, right? Yep. So the market now is not even competitive for only Ghanaians. It's a global competitive market. Do you think our students today have got the right mindset to compete globally?
So this is an interesting question. There are some students who can, meet the standards, but they are the minority, unfortunately. They are the minority. A lot of our students don't have that global mindset yet. And because they have not been trained with it. They haven't been trained to think globally. They are okay being local champions, and they've not been trained to think globally. So there's one of our projects we run is the Ghana Olympiad Academy. And through that, we get students to write international Olympiads. And you can see the difference once a student comes in. A student who might think he's very good academically, and then they sit these exams by this Singapore company that I'm a board member of. So they write these exams and they realize that, no, I don't know enough. Because the way the question will be turned, math questions, the way your aptitude, your quantitative reasoning must be, your critical thinking skills, your logical critical reasoning skills must be, is not up to. So then they begin to adjust and learn. And then they get to learn from all these candidates. Then you realize that now they feel they are confident enough to meet those standards. So, and these are students who are from the very good schools here in Ghana. So you can imagine the students, some students who is somewhere in a public school somewhere, in Fantineko somewhere. He will not be able to meet her because he hasn't gotten those skill sets. So we have to be intentional about the approach. And yes, it's good that policies are being made around making sure that maybe the teachers who come out of those with quality, they have to go through a 4-year degree system. I think it's a good step. training, retraining of teachers, I think is a good step. But even the approach to tutoring, not now, it's not, you know, the situation where the teacher is the all-knowing person. Now, in the new world, is you give projects. Now they come and they would be the kids would be explaining what they've learned, and you just be guiding them. Okay, this is not it. Have you thought about it this way? Will you be able to do it here? That's the way we think. And then they have that global mindset approach. So we are not there yet, unfortunately. But I feel that we have the capability that with the right mindset, with the right training, we can get that.
Let me give a typical story. Like my son, we got a teacher for my son. And the first day the teacher came in, I asked, so how is the teacher? He said, he's all right. I said, what do you mean by he's all right? He said, oh, he's all right. He's all right. I'm like, no, tell me what's wrong. And you know what he said? He says the teacher tells him what to do instead of guiding him for him to think. Mm-hmm. That's what my son told me.
Yeah.
And you see, and this teacher is from African descent, right?
We've been spoon-fed. We've been spoon-fed for a long time. But that is not it. That's not the right approach. No. You have to guide them. Let them make mistakes if they have to. That's how they learn and unlearn and relearn. That's the new world. So it's a long shot, but I feel that we can take small, simple steps, and eventually we will get there. Once we are deliberate about the approach and stick to the KPIs and always go back to it, and see whether we are doing the right thing or the wrong thing. Now, let me give you a typical example. I am not personally a big fan of the double track system. I mean, I think it's doing some good, but I feel personally that it could have been avoided. And I think that the low-cost private schools could have been, we could have had them in the system to make up for the new numbers that were coming in. But I think it was a political decision, so it was hard for that compromise to be made. Now, the facilities, you can see that there's some bit of overwhelming. The numbers are more, and what is happening is that some are saying that one track may be having a better education than the other because there's no sort of level pegging, across the systems. So some parents are having some difficulty. They have to, probably even take their kids for extra classes, which is normal. But if you take your child to a school, you want to have that confidence that everybody is getting the same level of education and that there's no, dichotomy of systems. So I'm not a big fan of the double track system. I felt that we could have done with it, or better still, maybe done it for a few years and later just move away from it. But we are still in the double track system. There's some schools still have, and some people are crying about facilities and all that. Would these things have been abated? I think yes and no. Yes, because if the planning was maybe a bit more thorough, and there was a lot more review done consistently, you would definitely know the issues with the schools. Because some of the situations, some of the government doesn't even know that this school has this problem, and if those were done timely, we probably wouldn't face some of the situations that we are facing here. But again, I say it's a very tall order. It's a very big system. The education system probably is the biggest. So a lot of work will need to be done. But this minister, who I'm a big fan of, I keep saying, I hear him speak, and he's very consistent with what he says. He's always saying the same things over and over again. And you know what? We are looking at every facet of the system, and yes, we don't have a perfect system, but we are trying to plug the holes and make sure that we get an equitable system for all. I think that we should give him the benefit of the doubt and see what he can be able to do once his at least he does his tenure, which is up to 4 years, isn't it? So I'm a big fan of him, but. Aside that, what are we doing as stakeholders, whether you are a consultant in the education space, whether you're a parent, whether you're a student, what are you doing on your own to make sure that you are sort of leveling up globally, because the world is moving. Just give you an example where some people want to, have their holidays now in space.
Yes, exactly.
In
The world is
space.
moving.
That's how the world is moving.
The world is
So
moving on.
we really have to really rethink of our approaches, the way we act, our behavioral system, and now it's hard because the kids are also exposed and they want to act differently. They want quick money. They want so many things. So we have to be very intentional about that approach. It's hard work, but it can be done because others have done it. Singapore has done it. Vietnam has done it in actually record timing. So why can't we do it? Why can't we do it? See Dubai and what they did with their system in the 1970s. Dubai was nothing. See where they've come. It's the same oil that we also have, maybe in little quantity, but see what they've done. Now tourism is the #1 earner. Ghana, we have always been known as the most peaceful country, always been known as the most hospitable country, but we haven't been able to leverage on that to be not even the #1 destination in West Africa. In the past we used to say we are the gateway of Africa, right? Gateway.
Don't you think we talk too much, but we find it difficult to take action?
It's hard. It's hard. And I was telling you earlier that I don't know whether we should fault the politicians. And of course, there's a large chunk of the blame we have to put on them. But I think they actually do get overwhelmed when they get there, because the problems are so many, and because there's no prioritization that, okay, you know what, these are the 5 things we are tackling in this 4 system. These are 5 priority areas. And so we'll look at that. Because we don't have that, today they are doing this, tomorrow you hear there's some digitization going here, tomorrow there's no plan.
Today I read somewhere that they want to build about 5 stadiums across the different regions.
I read it today. I'm like, oh my goodness. There's no prioritization. So whatever they'll do to a certain demography to win their votes or to get, then they'll do it. But that's not how to develop, an economy. That's not how to grow, an economy. It has to be very intentional. These are the targets you want to meet, and this is the approach you want to take, and this is the execution plan. And these are the people who are going to be in charge of the plan. Do they need training? Where like Singapore, they took all their writers those times to US. The plan was go and learn what is happening there, come back here and replicate using the nuances that you have. We don't care whether it's a capitalist system or socialist system. Go and learn. If it's from China, you learn something. If it's from America, you learn something. What we are more more focused about is what is practicable and what is doable.
Wow.
Even for us, the scholarship students who go and they have a bond to come back, they end up not returning because there's no system. When they come, they don't even know there's no system that will help them. Okay, you know what? We think you're a bright mind. We know you have learned this from this. What can you do to help so that we can do this here? I still think it's not rocket science because the blueprint is there. All we have to do is to tap into it and be a little less selfish and more selfless in our approach and get the job done. There was one point I wanted to raise, in the scheme of things, and looking at where we are. I think that if sometime back I thought maybe the youth we will have a different mindset, but it's becoming probably we are probably even worse off. We are not. So let's talk about maybe the fix the country, right? Then when you look at fix the country, and I think the concerns are genuine. We all agree with it. I mean, it's something that I'm in favor of. I think there's so much we can do. But you look at the comments, some of the youth, and they're like, "Hey, sanity here. This is how it's gonna be." It's like we've given up.
Yeah, it cannot be
sad. It's really sad. It's really, really sad that we've gotten to that point where we've almost given up, that nobody can help us. Maybe they've tried so many different governments, but I feel that there's so much. Ghana can easily be the Dubai of Africa. I keep saying it. We have everything, to be it easily. If some, leadership can take 5 to 10 years to transform this economy, transform it. It's just that we need to be less selfless. We need to tap into the blueprints, and we need to be ready to sacrifice. Are we ready to sacrifice? That's a question that we'd have to ask us and the gods.
That is the reason why I wrote this book. Because look, upon my travels to Ghana, and I realized that, look, the kind of negative connotations people have got accustomed to. And for example, Chale Ehado, Chale it no be easy, Chale here they no go hopping, Chale I want travel. Like the mindset of the people have now been skewed to a level, and sometimes you cannot blame them. But the question is, where do you stand? You have got opportunity to stand left or right. One is going to keep you at a certain level. One is going to move you up over time. Where do you stand? But a lot of people have rather stood on the side where things are going to keep them at the same level because they think nothing is going to work. And this is where this mindset revolution comes in. You see, in the same economy where people are complaining, people are succeeding. And I always ask people, where do you stand? Do you stand on the side of those who are succeeding against all odds? Or you are standing on the side of those who are complaining? And you see, this is not, as I said, this is not rocket science. It's all in the mind. And until we work on the minds of the people, on the minds of the young people, you see, government cannot solve all the problems. I've got young people that I've mentored, right? And I can boldly tell you that when I started mentoring them, they didn't have one seed. But today, they are not running around with their CVs looking for jobs because they are doing something in their own small way and it's paying off. A lot of young people, I have a young person who is just selling kenke. And all he's done is brand kenke, right? And this is not rocket. We eat kenke every day, but this one, he has branded it. He's put it in the net. He's putting some details on it. Like, it looks so nice. What has he done? He has added extra 50 pesos, making some money. So it's about time we work on the minds of these children, of these young people. And I think it is not only the work of the government or our leaders, and that is why I like what you do with this quiz thing. But there is one last question I want to ask you, because we've talked about all these policies, all these plans, how can we get it there? But for me, I believe we are too far behind. Now, let me ask you this. How do you feel if you see children sitting down on bare floors writing? How do you feel if you see children, they don't have a roof over their head when it comes to a classroom? And the question I always ask is that, how much will a classroom cost? Don't you think this means that we are too far behind? Don't you think that this is really something that when I see, this is where a lot of people look, how much, we are not saying don't drive V8. We are not saying that. But one V8 to me maybe can build about 10 classrooms. Because there is no much architecture when it comes to classroom. It's the foundation, build it up and roof it. That's it. How much are chairs? So don't you think these fundamental problems, if we are not able to solve it, we cannot talk about bridging the gap between us and the rest of the world?
I mean, it's a legitimate concern. But the truth of the matter is, I would rather someone in school, even in school and studying under trees, or in the classroom where they may not have all the facilities, than not going to school at all. Because we have examples of people who have gone through a system like that and have still been able to make it.
But do you think that
and
is
yes,
right?
You make the example of...
How do you think that is right? Because we are in the 21st century, right? And I believe that we should not be giving excuses of what happened 20, 30, 50 years ago.
I'm not giving excuses. I'll be the last person to give excuses or to normalize it, right? But that's the current situation that we have, so we have to face it. So what do we do with the current situation that we have? If you're going to set an example and say that the politicians are using the V8s and they have all the money and they can build it, I mean, that is also not attainable, right? So what is attainable? Government can do its bit. Of course, they have to do more, but other stakeholders must also come in to support. That is why I had a bit of a problem with the free SHS and they preventing the PDAs and the alumni support. There was a bit of a backlash. I thought that that was more reason why they should welcome them, because for sure that you didn't have all the money to implement this in the long term. So we need parents on board to support, to give, to help with chairs. You need alumni to help with support, to help with some facilities, science lab. You could even do a simple policy. All alumni build a science lab for your school. Just by this sentence, written and signed by the president or a minister, can get over 100, 200 science lab done within a year. This is what I say by it's not rocket science. You can get the president to say, I'm reading a book every month, everybody join me. So there's a title of the book, at the end of the month, he asks a question on Facebook or whatever, people read and join. It will change the literacy mindset of the people. Simple things that we will look, but it can just change the whole, it will be a paradigm shift. So yes, we can talk about all these, where we are in terms of, inadequate facilities and all that. But I think making the comparison that people just have it may be wrong. Let's build up from where we are.
Abel, let me cut you short here. Yeah? For me, I believe that we should not be having this discussion of lack of classroom at this time. Classroom should be adequate across the country. You see, these politicians go to these bushes to go and campaign, and they see what is happening there, right? Now, let me tell you this, right? It is not the job of alumni to provide anything for any school, right? They are doing it out of their own will, right? Like my year group at St. Augustine's, we built an ultramodern library for the school. Yeah. Every year we take something and do it. It is not our responsibility, but it is something that we think that we can contribute to the education of the country. It is no stakeholders' responsibility to go and build a school. It is the government responsibility. So the government should be the foundation of our blame. Now,
yes, but Oscar, I think I'm missing one point here. The point you're missing is the government doesn't have all the money. See all the money we are putting into free SHS, but we are still wrong with problems. We have to admit that we don't have all the funds. So it will happen gradually, but all stakeholders should come on board and help. Otherwise, we will not get there.
It is so sad. It is so sad. Me and you are having this discussion this 21st century. It's so sad. We shouldn't. You see, these are the basics of our problems that for now we could have solved it. Like classrooms should not be a problem. How many are we? 30 million? 30 million? Are we for real? We're talking about children sitting in the dust, writing? No, we can do better. There are certain expenditures we can cut to really solve that issue.
Sacrifice.
And if we are not doing that, then I think that, look, we are not ready for this. And I think these are some of the problems that I think that we should really, really look into it. So, to be honest, there is a lot that we need to do. There is a lot that we need to do.
But we have to start from somewhere.
We should have started long ago. Anyway, it's been wonderful having you. I've really enjoyed the discussion. But talk to me about some of the projects that you are doing in terms of your quiz, and if.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, yes. So the company we run is AB Review Center, and we focus on preparing students for the new world, right? So we help them get global education opportunities. So some of the projects we run is, you may be aware of the Sharks Quiz. It's quite popular, and we wanted to promote the core competencies among students: literacy, numeracy system, and social literacy. And we give some of the students scholarships, to be able to, study sometimes abroad and all that. We also run the Ghana Olympiad Academy, which I hinted to earlier, and there we get students to write international Olympiads in math, science, design thinking, and robotics. And they write all these exams with students from across the world. Sometimes you have 50 countries writing one exam. So you get your grade, and you're able to compare it with other students. And then eventually they go for a camp where they meet and interact with these students, and they learn a lot. So that's another of the projects. We also run, we do study abroad and scholarships. So we place students we have about 14 or 15 countries that our students are currently studying in. So those who need scholarships, sometimes we're able to help them to get scholarships to study, or we get discounts for them. And finally, we run camps, summer camps. So right now we are preparing for our STEAM summer camp. Usually we would have done it in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, but this time, because of COVID, we are doing it here in Ghana at our place at East Legon. So we are looking forward to getting a lot of, students coming to join, and they will learn so much in terms of practical STEAM. They will know how to build robots, how to code, all these things that I think every kid needs to know if they want to be competitive in the future of work. So parents should give their students or their wards these opportunities. So that's what we do. We are basically about preparing students for global opportunities. So wherever there's an opportunity in education space, we are there to sort of leverage on it and help our students to benefit from, especially from Ghana as of it. And yes, I'm also a board member of the Singapore Trust, and they run the International Olympiads, and we always give our insights that we can to them so that they can go international. So yeah, that's what we do at AB Review, and we are hoping to be able to do more in that space.
Wow. Good job you are doing. Now, I've got some few comments here. I've got Bennett Ado saying, a man with a vision. I've got Lawrence Champon saying, great answer, Abel. I've got Francis Apia Acquaye, the Almighty, says, nice one. I've got Godwin Obin Beneful saying broful. I think he's really liking your English, yeah? And I've got Lawrence Champon saying, true, retraining of teachers is also essential. And I've got Norma Ellis saying, I'm late, but I will catch up. Great topic. And Norma Ellis also say, why doesn't the government have money to build classrooms for children? That sounds to me like an excuse. I agree when people drive big cars instead of building classrooms is shameful. Yes, that is somebody's opinion. Yes, but it's quite interesting. But I really wanted to ask you this briefly. What is your take on teachers that they are supposed to have licenses before they operate? Do you have any idea?
I think on the surface, it's a good policy. There should be some standardization that comes, but I feel that it doesn't have to be. Well, I know it has been retracted, but it has to be gradual, right? You can't just come and say that if you don't have a license, you can't teach any longer. Because the truth of the matter is, some of them who don't have license are producing kids who are doing better than some who even have gone through all the system. So you have to be very tactical in the approach. And I know now they have sort of extended the time, giving some grace period. But standardization is good. You have to create a system where you know that people have gone through, certain system, you have the KPIs marked, and then you know they're going to deliver. But as I said, you can't just push it on them. It has to be gradual, give them some time, and then when everybody comes into that system, I think that works. The same for the 4-year degree for teaching training. I think it's a fantastic idea because eventually it's what goes in. What you get is what you deliver eventually, right? If you don't have a good teacher who knows how to deliver, eventually your output would be bad, right? The garbage in, garbage out. So once we get that system in place and the standardization in place, I think eventually it will all go well for the education system in the country.
Wow. Yes. So look, it's been wonderful having you. I've really enjoyed this.
Yes. You know what? It's interesting because I hardly talk about my opinions in education and what I know. I've never had such very hearty conversations where I'm almost pouring out my heart.
Yes,
people will know where my mind is on a lot of issues now. But thank you so much, Oscar, for having me.
You're welcome.
I really do appreciate it.
Yes, and your last word to everyone that is watching that, and what does the future hold for students in Ghana and the whole of Africa?
So I am a big fan of the Ghanaian student. I feel that once the Ghanaian student is given the right training and guidance, he can do exploit. Even with the inadequacies we are facing in the system, we still have people doing exploit. So maybe my word would be for the teachers and for the parents that don't give up on your kids. They have so much in them. We see that every day at our center. They have so much in them. All you have to do is to position them so that they can be able to receive, these guidelines, and they can go on to become whoever. Right? The sky really is not even the limit. It's the starting point. Again, I'm going to say this for this will be the third time. We have people who are now thinking of going for a summer break in space. I think that's where the future is heading. We should change our mindset and think global. Thank you very much.
Change our mindset and think global. I think a lot of people are asking me where they can get this book to buy in Ghana. Look, we are coming for a book launch in Ghana on the 4th of September. Now, we want everyone to be on board. We have already booked the place. I'm going to give out more details later. You can't afford not to join this Mindset Revolution movement in
Please
Africa.
Reserve my copy for me.
Your copy is already reserved.
That's good.
And we want to, you see, most people say our problem is leadership. But upon my research and a lot of consideration, I have on the position that our problem is a mindset problem. Because every leadership stems from a particular mindset. And if as Africans, we have been doing things in a particular way and we are getting the same results, then it's no more about leadership that needs changing, it's about mindset change. And I believe, you talked about 50-year plan. My belief is that we need to go to the grassroots of children in primary schools. Try to really work on their minds for them to understand that, look, corruption is bad, bad attitude, not doing the right thing. All these things are bad. Then we really stamp our authority on honesty and integrity. Now, if we really hammer this from primary school to the time they are in university, they will start thinking differently from their forebearers. And that is where we will start getting different results. And I think that is the plan that we need now. Because trust me and you, our mindset has already been formed. And for us to really change, I call it the chemotherapy of stage 5 cancer. It's a very difficult process. And so we should target the young people, work on their minds, so that the next 50 years, they will start thinking differently. And then we can think about having different results. Though along the line, we can have different results, but I think their different results is going to be more tremendous because they will skew on a different path from us. And I think that is what we need to do as a country. And that is my mission. My mission is to change the narrative when it comes to mindset of our students, of our children, so that we start getting different leadership that think differently from what we have had all these years. Because if I always make this example, that almost all gutters in Africa, I'm using the word almost, gutters in Africa, they are uncovered. It's a mindset. When you go to Nigeria, gutters are uncovered. When you go to Ghana, gutters are uncovered. If you go to Ivory Coast, gutters are uncovered. Everywhere, gutters, almost everywhere, gutters are uncovered. What is costing us from covering our gutters? Mindset. Now, if we want to get a new wave of leadership that is going to cause our gutters to be covered, then it should be the foundation, and that is the mindset needs to change. And this is where we stand now. And until the mindset of our people changes, trust me, we'll be churning out the same results. And that same results is what is keeping where we are now. We want to move on. We want to have a very good educational system that is competing with the world. We want to create a new system where young people will have the opportunity to harness their skills and talent, an environment where there are opportunities for their ideas to thrive. How do we do that? We need a new mindset that is going to drive a new leadership. But we have to give ourselves a plan. Me and you, the next 20, 30 years, 40 years, let's work towards it. By the time we are 80, 90, we are gone. Some people will take over. The new generation that is going to come, they will say, look, there was a man called Oscar Bimpo and Abel. They really changed the narrative. And that is what we've done tonight. Thank you very much for your time, and God richly bless you.
Thank you so much.
Wow. Lawrence Echampo said, please reserve a signed copy for me as well. Lawrence, I will do that. Come and support us on the 4th of September, because what we are trying to do is that if we release the book now, people will not come to the book launch. So we are going to release it after the book launch. People are calling me. Somebody called me yesterday that you need 50 copies. I said, please hold on for us. I'm coming to Ghana after the book launch. We are going to give it out, and we cannot hold on it, but at least we want to do the right thing. So, Mr. Abel, thanks very much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me, Oscar Bimpo. It's been a good time.
I really enjoyed every bit, and thanks for everyone that have really spent their precious Tuesday with us. And that is what we do on Tuesdays. Tuesdays is about interviewing young people that are changing the narrative. Last year, I interviewed so many young people across Africa and the diaspora that are changing the narrative. And I'm humbled to have you on board. God richly bless everybody. We are coming here. This Saturday, we are not coming because I've got an appointment somewhere. But Thursday, we are here, and every Saturday, we are here. If you are watching us for the first time, please like our page, T2I TV UK, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, share this for somebody to have an opportunity. Tag the Minister of Education. Probably he's going to take Abel as a consultant, because he has really shared good in-depth of wisdom and knowledge in terms of education. And these are the people that we need to give fresh minds. You should be on the board of these education people, and these are the opportunities they need to give to young people to bring fresh minds, fresh ideas into the system for us to grow. God richly bless everyone, and see you soon. Thank you very much.
Bye.